Welcome in, folks, to another installment of our AF1 recap here on the World of Football YouTube channel. I'm your host, Adam Snow. With me, as always, is my father and the founder of the World of Football. That's Randy Snow over there in that Billings Outlaws shirt. We'll be recapping week 2 of AF1 action this week as they kick off their inaugural season, or as it continues, I guess, rather. So, Dad, how you doing? And real quick, how'd you think AF1 action went this weekend?
I'm doing good, and I enjoyed both the games. I watched both games live, one on Vice, one on my laptop, and both broadcasts were pretty good for the most part. And both games were pretty exciting, especially that second game.
Yep, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But first, before we recap those week 2 games, everybody, we'd like to let you know about just the normal YouTube stuff we ask you to do. Like, comment, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. It really does help us out. Also, follow us on our various social media platforms. Instagram, X, Facebook. We like to interact with everybody we can. It's always a lot of fun chopping up, indoor and arena football with everybody. And, of course, we'd like to mention that we have a weekly podcast, This Week in the World of Football, that drops every single Tuesday on wherever you're going to find good podcasts. So be on the lookout for us. We'll have an episode dropping. See, we're recording this on Monday. This video goes up Monday. So look for the podcast tomorrow evening. Usually after dinner time is when I get that up and around. I got to have dinner first before I can post the show. So without further ado, let's talk about week 2 in the AF1. And it started Friday night on the Vice game. The Albany Firebirds took on the Southwest Kansas Storm, and if you want to call this a matchup, I think you're wrong, because I think this was more of a slaughter, because the Albany Firebirds brought the fireworks in their first game of the season. They defeated Southwest Kansas 78-20. Dad, how do you take this Albany massacre?
Boy, this was a shock because the Storm were 2-0. They looked real good in their 2 games so far. And I thought, even if they lost, they would put up a good fight. Boy, there wasn't much fight in them this week. I don't know what's going on with the Storm, but you go into Albany and all bets are off, I guess.
Man, yeah, it's a little bit of humbling experience, I think, if you're Southwest Kansas. I thought they looked great the last 2 weeks. Jalen Morton, the quarterback of the Storm, looked absolutely awesome his first 2 games, and I didn't want to put Albany on a pedestal because they haven't played a game yet. And I was like, look, they'll probably be good. We just don't know how good. Well, shoot, they came out game number 1 and just lit it up wearing their fantastic new home uniforms. By the way, I am in love with these Albany Firebirds uniforms. I thought they were so cool. It was great to see them in it. Still not a fan of the chicken wing helmet, but I mean, how much crying can we do to get them to change that helmet? I don't know. I guess it's just a personal taste. I know there's probably some people out there who like it. I'm just not a fan. Put that bird's head back on the side of the helmet. How hard is it? Yeah. So, we'll see. Otherwise, that uniform was awesome. Absolutely incredible. If I was a Firebirds fan, I'd be ordering that jersey in a minute. But let's talk about some performances, because there was a player who stood out during this game. Quarterback Sam Castronova for the Firebirds went 15-22, threw for 220 yards and 7 touchdowns during this game. Then he rushed for 2 yards and had a touchdown on the ground. So 8 touchdowns total for Castronova on the evening. What a performance by him. What do you think?
Yeah, he looked really good out there. I mean, the whole team looked good. The notes that I've got from the game, do you want me to start talking about?
Go for it, yeah. What do you got?
Okay, well, opening kickoff. Albany scores a deuce on the opening kickoff. 2-0.
We love the deuce.
Without the clock even moving or whatever, and boom, they're up 2-0. So Southwest Kansas did get on the board, and it was 7-2. And after that, it was just all Albany.
Look, I want to say that first Storm drive, Jalen Morton looked like he wasn't going to be stopped.
He rushed good.
He rushed for 88 yards during that game. He had, I don't know how many he had on that opening drive at the top of my head, but 88 yards overall. He was getting close to the arena record, but I think that 88 yards probably sets the AF1 record. I mean, we're going to have to start delineating between the AF1 records and the old arena football records. But 88 yards, that's nothing to sneeze at. He did it a lot on the ground with his legs, but through the air, he just couldn't get anything done during this game. That Albany defense came to play. They looked great. They intercepted the ball 3 times against Jalen Morton. who couldn't even throw a touchdown pass during this game. I was shocked that Southwest Kansas only scored 20 points total. But Albany was doing everything they could. Shoot, they had a touchdown where a guy jumped over the wall to get it and knocked into a fan that was just sitting there minding their own business, and their whole plate of food just went up in smoke. And then another play where player hit the dasher board and went right through where the door was. So we had some entertaining arena wall action, which was very refreshing to see. And of course, Albany does it right. The game presentation, the stadium wasn't packed, but those fans were energetic. I saw a guy wearing a Hawkman mask. Looked great. I love the Albany fans. They put on a heck of a show there. So Albany, we thought this is who they thought that they were going to be. Yeah. I knew they were going to be good, but they dominated.
Yeah, I thought there would be more fans in Albany for the first game. I think maybe people are just kind of waiting to see how they're going to be. What's this AF1 all about? I thought it would be more of a packed stadium, but they had a decent crowd. But if they keep playing like this, they're going to be packing that place even better in the weeks to come.
I would hope so, because they got a heck of a squad, and they already got names that I'm already like, these guys were awesome. Like Dwayne Brown caught 6 passes for 89 yards and 4 touchdowns during this game. And then you had Darian Townsend, a name that even I'm familiar with the Firebirds, had 4 catches for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns during this game. So they got stars in the making in this league. A great organization, great front office. Top to bottom, the Albany Firebirds might be the gold standard of arena and indoor football. But obviously we're in the Billings shirt, so don't get me wrong. Billings is also up there.
Stephen Titus may have something to say about that, but
I know that I love hearing them jaw back and forth. I love it.
He'll just flash his ring. That's all he'll do.
That's all he's got to do. But I'm just saying, those two organizations are showing what the potential of what arena football, and the fact that we saw another high scoring game like this. The 78 points ties the new AF1 record. Billings already set that mark. A couple weeks ago or last week. So it's going to be entertaining, and I hope these other teams can get up to snuff, because we've had quite a few blowouts so far this season.
Yeah.
And I know we're about to talk about this next game in a second, but is there anything else from this game you want to talk about before we move on?
Well, I didn't know if we wanted to talk about the third person that we were watching this game with from Montreal. We were like texting back and forth, and we had a little group chat with Tim Capper from Arena Fan, and he was watching the game in Montreal. We're watching the game here, and we were all commenting at certain times on certain plays and whatnot. And it was kind of fun. It was fun to have Tim, right there on our phones, making comments on the play we just watched and bringing his insights to the game. And he brought up the fact that the 88 yards was close to setting a new AFL record, and we all know, you and I know, who's got the record for the most rushing yards in a single game. And
Michael Bishop with the Grand Rapids Rampage.
Absolutely.
But like we got to keep pointing out, this is AF1, so these are all new records.
Right.
But in terms of arena, still to get that many, it was tough in the Arena Football League. It wasn't until 2005 that record happened. The 100 yards in a game.
Right.
So the fact that he had 88, he was only 12 yards away, and they pulled him late in the game. So it kind of stinks that he couldn't even get to that benchmark during the game. But we'll see. I still think he's got a high ceiling the rest of the season. Southwest Kansas' ceiling is very high. So hopefully they can regroup. They got a big game upcoming this week. We'll see if they can bounce back. Yeah. Anything else before we move on?
Last thing on this game.
Okay, hurry up.
The Southwest players had their first and last name on the back of their jersey.
Oh, yes.
That I thought was pretty cool.
Very unique. I didn't expect that. I know the outcry has been, even from us, has been, why aren't their names on the back of the jerseys? And Southwest Kansas was just like, all right, we're going to double down. We're putting the whole stinking name on there. What you see on their driver's license, we're just going to throw it on the back of their jersey. So That's what they did. And I kudos to them. I think that's actually, for a league like this that's starting to get exposure and all that and trying to get exposure, that's actually a really good way, I think, to put some of these players' names out there.
Right.
All right. Now we're done with that game.
Yes.
You ready to move on to the next game?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, this was a game that was on Evergreen now. I wasn't able to watch this game. This happened Saturday night. It was my birthday. I had a lot going on that night, so I hope you all understand. I know the brushstrokes of this game. And this game, so the Washington Wolfpack defeat the Oregon Lightning 35-28. But the big story here was Washington was down what was it, 28-0, 22-0?
22-0 at halftime. Yes.
Yeah, and then they scored 29 points in the third quarter unanswered.
Yes.
I
Yep.
think 35 altogether.
I'm not positive on that. I'm not sure who scored first in the fourth quarter, but definitely 29 unanswered points in the third quarter alone.
Yeah, so Washington made a game of it in the second half, and we've talked about how second halves for teams this year have been a step up from the first half. So something's been happening at halftime where they get their poop in a group and they just you're able to perform in the second half. Now, the Oregon Lightning. So I tried to look up stats for this game. I got some Oregon Lightning stats, and I hope they're right. But I was very much questioning some of the Wolfpack stats on their site because I watched highlights, and the player that threw the touchdown pass was not wearing the number that they designated on this stat sheet. So I think the AF1 still had some issues with their stats they got to work out. Guys, please work out your stats. It should not be this difficult. We're 3 weeks into the year. Get it together. Seriously. It's Monday, and that game happened Saturday, so I think it's inexcusable. Anyway, look, Lightning quarterback Dalton Cole supposedly threw 11 of 28 for 236 yards. He threw 3 touchdowns and had an interception, while wide receiver Marquise Sampson had 3 catches, 87 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 6 rushes for -4 yards and a touchdown. I think he had a 12-yard run at one point, but so a lot of them were negative yardage for this receiver who was also running the ball. And Oregon, like I said, Washington, I didn't keep their stats because I couldn't rely on them. So, but look, the main thing is Washington got the win at the end of the day.
Yes.
You watched this game. What'd you take away from it?
This was kind of a boring game to begin with. I mean, 22-0 at halftime, and then just that turnaround in the second half was phenomenal, and it was a great game to watch in the second half. So here's the notes I took from during the game. There were no graphics on the Wolfpack broadcast until 7 minutes left in the first quarter. So you just had a blank screen. I didn't know what the score was. I didn't know what was going on. And they were a little slow to update that too. Even when somebody scored a touchdown, you didn't see that get updated, right away. It took a minute or so, but at least once they got it up there, they were working with it. So kind of a bad start there, but they got it corrected. Oregon up 22-0 at halftime. The new uniforms for Oregon. Washington was wearing the same uniforms as last week because I did see one guy with Royals on the front of his jersey again. So that was the same uniform. So I don't know where the
uniform some semi-pro team out there. So
yeah, but supposedly both of these teams were supposed to get their uniforms, by this game, and one did and one didn't. So I don't know what the story is going on there. The
Oregon's uniforms looked great, by the way. I like those away uniforms. I thought they were really nice.
Yep, they were very nice. All right, the Wolfpack scored a touchdown in the third quarter, followed by a bad snap by Oregon, which led to a recovery in the end zone for another touchdown. So boom, boom, boom. They got 2 touchdowns right away. So now it's 22-14. And Washington got the ball back by way of an interception on the next drive, and they scored their third touchdown, got the 2-point conversion, and that's where the teams tied 22-22 in the third quarter. Another fumble by Oregon, and added 7 more. So it was 29-22. They had the lead there. Washington scored 29 unanswered points in the third quarter. Those are all the notes that I took from the game. But man, what an exciting second half that was. Like I said, three touchdowns and a 2-point conversion to tie things up in the third quarter when they were down 22-0. So that was awesome. And then they went on from there.
Yeah, this was a game like I was checking my phone periodically at the wedding I was at, and I was seeing everybody freaking out about this game and how the second half was something else. So I'm glad that they at least got a game, and I think that's good for the AF1 to have a game like that where a team can claw back, score that many points unanswered is a lot of fun. Now we just got to hope that Washington gets their uniforms in sometime soon because now every team's got them except for them. Yeah. So we'll see going forward. Good for Washington getting that win. Now, if you're Oregon, I mean, flashes of good stuff in the first half. I think they got some stuff to work on because they got a very tough opponent coming up this week, which we'll talk about in just a second. Any other notes from this game before we move on?
No, but if you're looking to see the new Washington uniforms, they're off this week, so it'll be 2 weeks before they at least.
They better get it in because if they got this week off, they better.
Yep.
get it in.
Yep.
All right, and then on bye this week were the Billings Outlaws, Nashville Cats, Salina Liberty, and Corpus Christi Tritons. Taking a quick look at the current standings after 3 weeks, technically. We had week 0, so after 3 weeks, here are your undefeated teams. The Albany Firebirds, Billings Outlaws, and Corpus Christi Tritons are all 1-0. Then the Southwest Kansas Storm are 2-1 now, followed by the Washington Wolfpack at 1-1. Then you have the Nashville Cats, Salina Liberty at 0-1 apiece, and then the Oregon Lightning now are 0-2. All right, and then your week 2 preview week 3 preview. I forgot to change that in my Word document. Your week 3 preview, there's 3 games, so you're going to have a game Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So there is going to be no shortage of AF1 action this weekend. Should all be interesting games. Salina will travel down to Corpus Christi for a rematch of their week 1 game. This will be Friday night. We'll see if Salina bounces back. They had a very tough outing the last time down there. Will Corpus Christi have ball sets and nets up and sponsors around the boards? I guess we'll have to find out and watch. Saturday night, we'll see. Yep, Saturday night we will see the Albany Firebirds travel to Nashville. That's right, it will actually happen in Nashville, and take on the Cats. And then Sunday, your Vice game of the week will be the Oregon Lightning traveling to Southwest Kansas to take on the Storm, and we'll see if the Storm can bounce back or can Oregon make up for their big letdown in the second half of that last game. All right. Not a whole lot of news this week, guys, which I'm kind of happy about. A quiet news week. Just a few rumors kind of floating around out there. I guess we could just quickly touch on. There was something about floating around on the forums about Corpus Christi players not getting paid. I haven't heard anything officially about that, if that's been resolved, if that wasn't even an issue. Supposedly Darius Prince texted somebody and said it's all good. There's no issue. So people just spreading crap online just to spread crap online. The other story was that Nashville, people were complaining about not being able to get tickets for the Nashville home game this weekend, that the venue wasn't putting up any of the Cats games yet. They couldn't find it supposedly, but I saw a thing that said no, Cats tickets are on sale. They went on sale, I guess, today for their home game this Saturday. So I don't know what the deal was with that, but you can get your Nashville Cats tickets to see them take on the Albany Firebirds this Saturday night. So, yeah. So no news is good news, I think. So we just had those rumors floating around.
Yeah.
And I think the AF1 is finally starting to get some footing, and they just got a few things to clear up still. And if anybody from the AF1's watching, and I'm pretty sure we're starting to get a few people from the AF1 watching. But come on, let's get those stats out sooner. I mean, I don't think it should be that hard. I mean, especially it's a Monday now, and that game was Saturday night, and there were still some issues. Come on, guys. The uniforms. Can Washington finally get their uniforms the next time they play? You got 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Get it together.
Absolutely.
But other than that, I mean, I think this league, we care, and I think they're doing a lot right, and I think they're not getting enough credit. I think they should be taking some of the lumps they're getting, but I also think they should be getting more credit than people are giving them right now on the internet. And I'm having a ball with AF1. I think their stuff on Vice has been great. I think Evergreen now has been a great partner for them.
Yep.
So I think the sky's the limit for this league right now.
Yeah. Haters are going to hate. There's always going to be people out there that are going to try and come up with a story to make you think the worst about the AF1, but don't pay attention to it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if it's warranted, by all means, I think, I think people should have a legitimate gripe. But I think right now, the AF1 does deserve a lot of credit. So I guess we'll just leave it at that. Anything else, Dad, before we wrap up this week's recap?
Nope, that's it.
All right, guys. We thank you for watching. Once again, like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It does really help us out, guys. Also, check out some of our various social medias. Links will be down in the description below for those. Like I said, we try to connect with everybody we can. So check us out there. And also check out our weekly podcast, This Week in the World of Football. Again, new episodes of that drop every Tuesday, wherever good podcasts can be found. So stay tuned to this channel for more AF1 recaps and other football goodness as the arena, indoor, and spring season marches forward. We'll see you guys next time on the World of Football.
Tell your friends about us.